What's up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and this is Betting the NFL week number 9. And as always, here with me is my co-host, Derek Wesley, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Man, ready to knock out another week with these betting lines to see what juice we can find out there. And hopefully at the end of the day, we're walking away with a little bit more money in our pockets.
Because that's what we do. We try to win you guys money. That is the goal of the show, as well as trying to win ourselves some money. Um, Sometimes we do better at that than other weeks. But, hey, we're still trying. As long as you guys make money, then that's all that matters. But for this week, we'll be getting to, like we always do, our 5 best bets of week number 9. But before we go into that, we have to go back a week and see what happened in week number 8. And we'll start off with that and give you some of the numbers here. Home teams 10-6 straight up against the spread. They were very good, 11-5, which has been different from what has been going on. A lot of the away teams, the road teams, have been winning against spread, even straight up. But the favorites straight up went 11-5 against spread, 8-8. Not much of a trend there. Overs, 12 overs, 4 unders. A lot more points scored this week than in previous weeks. And then the home favorites, big against the spread, 6-3. So home favorites definitely winning last week. Overall, home team 60 straight up, 53 and 66-4 against the spread. So it's been a bad season for the home teams against the spread. Favorites, although 82-41 straight up, 64-55-4 against the spread. So favorites have had a little more of an edge. And then overall, 65 overs, 56 unders. Points have been scoring, have been put up a lot this season, at least a lot more than last season, because a lot of unders were hitting last season. But I guess Vegas has adjusted, the odds makers have adjusted, and we're seeing a lot more points scored, or at least a lot more of the overs hitting lately.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's a little bit of combination of two there. Like you said, eventually the books are going to have to adjust. And when we saw basically those unders trending, pretty much not necessarily week after week, but more consistently than the overs coming in, at a certain point, you're going to reach that, that critical level where it's almost impossible for some of these matchups not to go to the over. And, especially with some of the teams out there, like Detroit, Tennessee game. You wouldn't imagine initially that game going to the over the way it did, but Detroit showed just how powerful that offense can be and went out there and racked up enough points to cover the over regardless of what Tennessee put up.
Yeah, that was definitely one I was on the right side of. A lot of points scored in, but it was way one-sided, which I was glad to be on that. And speaking of the game, that was my best pick of the week. That wasn't the one I thought it was going to be. The other one was, the Broncos versus Panthers. I said that was going to be my best pick, and it would have been the best pick if it wasn't for the Lions having a bigger point spread and them still covering it by a whole lot of points. But if it wasn't for that one, the Broncos Panthers, that would have been the best pick because they also had a blowout. I only had 2 wins. Those were my 2 wins. At least those I was extremely confident in. It's very similar, good team versus bad team, big point spread. The better team easily covered that spread in both situations, and it turned out well for me. I mean, I called it. I was, I would say put a lot of money on that, and if you did, you won a lot of money. And I was just on the right side, and I'm, picking against Panthers, picking against the Titans. It's gonna win you a lot of money this season.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. If I'm not mistaken, the Panthers are one of the worst teams against the spread this season, and sadly, there's nothing that indicates that that's probably going to turn around. Getting into my picks from last week, I tried to tell the folks last week that the fade train had left the station. And if they didn't want to believe me, well, it's too late for that because we boarding for Cashville over here as I went 4-1 last week. The only loss coming in the Panthers game, where I was more riding the trend of Chuba Hubbard, 4 out of 5 games reaching the end zone. Unfortunately, wasn't able to capitalize on that. But given the rest of my plays cashing on the week, definitely was a nice thing to see. Probably my best play of the bunch that cashed. Let's go with Devontae Smith for the Philadelphia Eagles. Anytime touchdown coming in at, I believe it was plus 210. But anytime you're getting 2-1 on your money in returns, definitely a nice play. And looking, I said it when I first jumped into these prop markets that this really working out for me, and I'm sticking with it, and it certainly paid off. As had far more winning weeks than losing weeks, and that plus money does rack up.
Yeah, I mean, betting against the spread has been tough for me this season. Um, been struggle, and I'll be talking about one of the struggles, which was my worst pick of the week. Bengals +3 versus the Eagles. I mean, I just did not expect the Bengals to get beat down like that, especially at home. Um, and especially with I thought they were getting hot in recent weeks. They were on a win streak. Um, and Eagles really hadn't been playing that well throughout the season. But the fact that Joe Burrow and their offense could not, pretty much torch the Eagles secondary really surprised me. The Eagles were able to really pound it with Berkeley, and then they pounded it with their brotherly shove, touch push, whatever you want to call it, play. They got 3 touchdowns on that. They really hammered that home, and I thought the Bengals would at least cover the 3 points, especially with the way they've been playing. They were getting hot a little bit, but they definitely cooled off in this one, and definitely stumbled and struggled to score points against the Eagles defense, which was surprisingly pretty good, really good this week.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect the Bengals to come out and lay the egg like they did against Philly. Kind of shocked, just as you, that they weren't able to do more against the pass defense of Philadelphia, which this year has, left a lot on the table as far as being productive. Um, so yeah, a little bit of a shocker there. Um, you know, I think coming into the season, a lot of people may have had high hopes for the Cincinnati Bengals as far as what they might be able to do in the playoffs. And so far through this, through the regular season and first half of the season, we haven't seen much to lead people to believe that that is the case.
Absolutely. That will wrap up our week 8 bets. We'll turn the page. Hopefully, we'll get better. Obviously, DWeezy already had a good week. Hopefully, he can continue to have more good weeks. Hopefully, I can bounce back in week number 9. But before we get to our picks, if you guys can please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you can hit that like button, we would very much appreciate it. And we just appreciate you guys for watching and tuning in. We do this for you guys so you can win some money. We give you the facts and our opinions and let you make your bets however you want to make them, whether you go my picks, whether you go DWeezy's picks, as long as you guys make money. That's what we're about to do here. Since you had the winning week, you can start off your bets, your 5 best bets of week number 9.
All right, kick off, number 1 of the 5. Going, I've been riding with, Thursday night games a lot this year, and I'm going back to that as we got a matchup between the Houston Texans and the struggling New York Jets, and I'm going to be targeting those Jets as they take on, a defense for the Houston Texans that has been strong with getting to the quarterback and also limiting production in the pass game. And that's an area I'm going to target as we're going with Aaron Rodgers over basically 0.5 interception, have an interception in this game. Now, previously, in the past, this was a market you wouldn't really even think about targeting with Aaron Rodgers in his Green Bay years. But whether it be this season, whether it be something going on with the Jets, whether it be maybe he's lost a little bit of that touch, I do believe in this game we'll see the trend continue of him throwing an interception. And against this defense, Aaron Rodgers' lack of mobility, they're going to put pressure on the quarterback. They're going to get sacks in this game, and I do expect that to have a ripple effect, and we see at least one interception in this game in this matchup.
We gotta say what's up to Jose. What's going on? Great to have you here. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers. If you said that back in the day, he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks, one of the most least likely to throw interceptions, and now it's very much changed this year. And we thought that going into even last season and into this season, we thought it wasn't going to work with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. We bet the under on the Jets on their win totals this season. We were very down on. We pretty much knew that this is how it was going to look. It wasn't going to be pretty. Considering Rodgers' age, all the dysfunction going into the season, and now he's throwing a ton of picks and making mistakes and not really playing like he's playing, like he's used to playing. So yeah, I mean, betting him to go over interception, it's pretty likely to happen. So do like that prop bet right there. All right. So going into my first bet of the week, I gotta keep going. I mean, the money train does not stop on betting against the Carolina Panthers. They just keep making me money, and I love it. They're one of the most consistent teams in the NFL. If you just bet against them, because they just let their opponents cover all kinds of spreads. It don't matter what the spread is, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is. They will cover. Saints are -7.5 on the road against the Panthers here. But yes, and I do realize Saints playing with their backup quarterbacks, and they haven't looked all too hot since they played my Cowboys, destroyed my Cowboys in that week number 2, and they haven't really been good since. But it's still the Panthers, and they aren't good about stopping really anybody, any opponent. Saints, obviously, we saw the Saints blow them out in the first game of the season. That was with Derek Carr, but they still have the better sporting playmakers. They still have Kamara out there, still have Olave out there, and the Panthers still have Bryce Young out there. So I think he just continues to struggle scoring points here. And the Panthers, like you said, one of the worst covering teams in the NFL. They are 0-5 against spread in the last 5 games. So I think that trend continues. I'm taking the Saints to cover a 7.5-point spread against the Panthers.
Yeah, I said it last week. You definitely can't. There's no argument in defending anything other than exactly what you said. You got to fade the Panthers this season. This is the type of game where if you're not looking to bet the Saints, -7.5, then you're just staying off this game completely. You might touch the total in the sense of messing around with the over, as both teams I'm seeing been pretty good to the over so far this season. Panthers 6-2, Saints 5-3 to the over. But yeah, outside of maybe finding a prop here or there potentially, there's no real way to bet on the Carolina Panthers in this game or really any matchup this season. Now, as I'm getting my second play pulled up. All right, going to an NFC East matchup, a good old rivalry. We got the Washington Commanders taking on the New York Giants. And in this game, I'm going to be looking to target Jaden Daniels on the anytime touchdown market. Now, as this is a QB, you have to remember this is a rushing TD that we're talking about. But we're also talking about one of the worst rush defenses in the league currently with the New York Giants, and a major rushing threat in a player like Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position. I would not be shocked at all if we saw him run for a lot of yards in this game, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see him get loose somewhere in the red zone, and it may not be a 20, 30-yard run, but be able to reach the end zone, whether it be from a 2-yard QB sneak or 10, 12 yards away from the end zone and still find his way to get those 6 points. And also, I was just going to say, and at plus 160, given this matchup, definitely a number I like with those odds.
Be on this game as well. I'm going with the spread here. Washington minus 3.5 against at the New York Giants. For a lot of the reasons you said. I think they're going to lean on the run game, and not just with the running backs, with also Jaden Daniels running the ball himself. Um, and it's going to allow them to, Jaden Daniels get those deep shots as well, against that Giants terrible, terrible secondary that they had. And Dan Quinn just knows how to destroy the Daniel Jones in this Giants offense. He's done it with the Cowboys. He did it um, pretty well in the first game, held them down to a bunch of field goals that they kicked. It was a more of a closer game in the first game. I don't expect that to happen because Washington has gotten a lot better, and the Giants has continued to be the same terrible Giants team that they've have been all season long. So I think there is a big difference there. Um, Obviously, Jaden Daniels himself has gotten better since that game. So I don't expect a close game. I think they're going to demolish the Giants even on the road. We've seen in the trends this season that that home field advantage hasn't really meant much this season. So a road team as a favorite, do like that as well. And Washington 6-0-1 against the spread in the last 7 games. Very good covering team. So I expect them to cover a pretty small 3.5 point spread, probably because of the divisional game. Otherwise, Washington Commanders are way better and more talented than the Giants, and are playing just way better than the Giants. So I don't think it's too big of a spread to cover. So I'll be laying the points here.
Yeah, the Giants have definitely been a team that when it's not the opponent beating them, it's them beating themselves. And, they haven't been able to cover much this season at all. Yeah, like you said, I'm a little surprised that the spread is as low as it is in that matchup.
Yeah, I
Um,
would just think it's just because the division game close
yeah,
and it was
that and
last month.
possibly a combination of the lack of scoring that we saw last week. However, I would not be shocked if the Commanders go out there and win this game by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. The Giants do have one strength is their pass rush, but that's why I think why if they Washington can lean on the run game, it kind of nullifies their good patch because I think like Dexter Lawrence has like the most sacks in the league right now. That's one strength that they do have, but if their run game and Jane Daniels' mobility can really stifle that pass rush and really not let it affect them too much. So that's why I like the Commanders.
Yeah, and another point to highlight, with not to say any running quarterback, but when you have a quarterback with a high level of mobility, like we see out of a Jaden Daniels and players of that caliber, uh, it doesn't necessarily nullify a pass rush, but a pass rush, a great pass rush can almost be counterproductive in the sense of if you don't get to him, it opens up the threat of him breaking off one of those large runs. Hopefully, something like that I see will help cash that anytime touchdown.
Yeah.
Now, moving into my next play, going to the alternate passing market in this matchup, because one, I do believe that we get a little more production than what the books are putting up just for the over under. But targeting Caleb Williams as him and the Chicago Bears take on the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals have, another team out there that has a pretty bad passing defense. And in this matchup, at the beginning of the year, there was some concerns about what we were seeing out of Caleb Williams when it came to the passing game. But over the past 4 or 5 games, that has really turned around in a lot of these matchups. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to go out here and throw for 300 yards, but I do like what I'm seeing is where plus or over 232 and a half passing yards in this game, plus 104. Like I said, this is an alternate number. Um, I believe the original over under is somewhere around 220, somewhere in that range. So only needing a handful of more yards to be able to get in plus money. I definitely like playing this number at plus 104 versus the minus number you're going to be getting at that 220, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, again, another guy that's been improving. Rookie quarterback's been improving throughout the season. Um, yeah, he's been getting better, throwing for more yards, so definitely can hit a number like that this week. Um, all right, I get to my number 2 bet of the week, and that is the Broncos +9 at the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, Bo Nix just again, we were just talking about rookie quarterbacks who are getting better, and I think Bo Nix falls in that category. I think he had some struggles in the early part of the season, but now he seems to really seem finding his stride here. And yeah, I mean he did it against the Panthers last week. He did 3 touchdowns and but still looked pretty good. Despite that, this will be a much bigger challenge though against the Baltimore Ravens, obviously. But will it though? Because the defense of the Ravens not looking great. They are the I think they're the worst passing defense in the NFL. They allowed 3 touchdowns and 29 points to James Winston just last week. They've allowed 20 plus points in every game except one. Um, yeah, so I mean, their defense is not playing very well this season. Um, Broncos, I think, will rely on their pass because I don't think they run it very much, or they really are they just not able to run it very much. So I think they'll rely on their pass game. I think Bo Nix can get the job done. Now, will I think they can win this game? No, but +9 is a huge spread for a good team, for like a team with a winning record, with the Broncos getting +9. Yeah, I see the Broncos can definitely cover that, at least keep it close, if they do not outright win the game. But it even opens the door to a backdoor cover as well. Ravens could have a strong lead and let them Broncos come back. Obviously, the Ravens are very well known for letting teams come back on them. This could be a case for that. No matter how it ends up, I mean, 9 points. I definitely think a pretty good Broncos team can cover that type of spread.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about in the past a lot. NFL teams winning by double digits or more definitely is a task that is more challenging than not. And this is a prime example of that, where we could easily be talking about the Baltimore Ravens winning this game, and for the most part, winning this game comfortably. And at the end of garbage time, a TD putting the Denver Broncos within that +9, +10 range. And while on the scoreboard, it might give the notion that it was a close game, in the for anybody that might actually watch the game that took place would tell you otherwise. So it's definitely in the NFL trying to cover these -9 and higher spreads where you're talking about double digits, definitely a tall task. And with a defense like what we've seen out of Baltimore, you don't need the Broncos to go out there and win the game. You don't need them to go out there and dominate the game. If the Broncos stay close, it's likely you're going to see them cover this number. And both these teams play well to the over. Baltimore's 7-1, as their offense has been very productive throughout this entire season for the most part. Denver's coming in at 5-3 to the over in their games. So we're talking about a scenario where points are likely going to be scored. And who knows? Hell, you might even get a little wild and put a little bit on the money line for the Denver Broncos, because the Baltimore Ravens have been a team in the past and shown it's uh, those trap games that get them, those games that they should win, should be able to take advantage of, and for whatever reason just don't manage to. Now moving into my next play, we were talking about them at the beginning of the episode, going to the Detroit Lions as they take on the Green Bay Packers. Now, this offense for the Lions is, it may have not led to points in every matchup, but we're talking about a team that, from on the offensive side of the ball, has not seemed to miss a beat or a step or anything. They have shown that they're an offense that can go out there and do pretty much whatever they want to do. Last year was a lot. There was a lot of conversation over how they were utilizing the running back position, and quite frankly, with what we've seen out of both running backs back there in Detroit, whether it be David Montgomery, whether it be Jahmyr Gibbs, the running game is downright lethal, and both of those players are explosive at the position, not only in the rush game, but also the pass game. But in this matchup, I'm going to be going to a player possibly even hotter than the two running backs that I just mentioned, as we're going to the Sun God, St. Brown. as in the past 5 games, he scored at least 4 games, I know, but past 4 or 5 games, touchdown in each of those games. And that's right where I'm going. We're only getting, we're looking at even money at plus 100. Um, I think the books are scared to try and make it a minus number because they're almost forced downright to make Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery uh, a minus number in these anytime TD markets. And I think that's what's getting us this little bit of value that we're seeing on St. Brown right at even money. Now, this was something I talked about with Cooper Kupp in previous weeks and Chase Brown, where we're talking about players that, especially when he's been as hot as he has at finding the end zone, and in this offense that seems to be clicking, running all cylinders open, why is he at, even though it's even money, why is it a plus number? So I'm jumping all over this anytime TD prop with St. Brown, looking to see if the Detroit Lions continue to roll through this great NFC North matchup that we got this week.
Yeah, I'm hoping you very much win that bet. I have St. Brown on multiple fantasy teams. So hopefully he scores a whole lot of points for me this week. Um, but now I'll get to my third bet of the week and or fourth bet of the week. I got the Rams minus 1.5 at the Seattle Seahawks. Now that the Rams got their guys back on offense, it seems like they're right back on track where they left off last season. But I think the Rams can even run it well with Kyron Williams against the Seattle team. Um, that doesn't really, I don't think they really have an answer to really stop Kyron Williams. Their defense has really been pretty shoddy throughout the season. They just got blown out by the Bills, where they really struggled to score 10 points and couldn't really move the ball at all. They had no run game, and Gino threw no touchdowns and had an interception. Um, so Rams got a major win last week on a Thursday night, no less. So they got 10 days rest. People call that the mini bye. Going into this game, extra time rest, trend of the season, weight teams doing well. Home teams not so well against the spread. Seahawks have shown they're not very good against the spread because they are 1-4 in the last 5 games. So I like the Rams to cover a small 1.5 point spread in this one.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we're talking about a healthy Rams team, so I do believe that their record against the spread is slightly skewed.
Yeah.
And also coming into a prime situation where Seattle has struggled against the run game, definitely working in the favor of the Rams, given how much they like to utilize Williams within the offense, whether it be through the rushing game or passing game. Um, and Seattle, defensively, they might have a few things figured out, quite possibly due to, the head coach specializing in defense. Offensively, we've, seen, highlights and sparks out of the passing game, but it's been the running game that's really been an issue for Seattle this season. And against the Rams, it's running the ball that you want to be able to do. They fare better against the pass. And that combined with the offensive mind that we've seen out of Sean McVay, I definitely have to lean towards the Rams covering that small spread that we're seeing. And as I said, 2-5 against 2-5-1, I believe I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's accurate when we're talking about this Rams team because of the amount of time they spent without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I think a better trend would going back to last season when they had all their guys and they were really catching their stride in that second half. I think that's more if you want to look at their history of trends to go by that because I think they really look like that team that ended last season in the playoffs.
To move into my fifth and last pick this week, going to another hot offense out there as I'm going over to the Minnesota Vikings as they take on the Indianapolis Colts. Got to go to, the man himself, Mr. Jetters, Justin Jefferson. Now, this is at a minus number, but going to the anytime TD markets again, minus 112 for him to reach the end zone. This has been an offense that has just been the hottest, if not one of the hottest, if not the hottest team offense in the league. And I think we see that continue against a Colts team that has found themselves struggling, going through a lot of internal turmoil with what's taking place on the offensive side of the ball. And also, it's going to be a question of, can they disrupt um, Sam Darnold in the passing game? And I don't know if that's going to be the case. And looking at this game, from a spread aspect, I would be worried about what Joe Flacco could potentially do, him being more of the passing threat than the possibility if we saw Anthony Richardson out there. But, you know, there's not much about the Colts defense, especially in the pass game, that leads me to believe that, there's a legitimate reason why we see this minus number on Jefferson, not just because of the player that he is, but because of the matchup that we're looking at. And I'm going to be looking for him to find the end zone this weekend.
I'm on this game as well. For basically all the reason, well, you said all the reason you had of why Justin Jefferson's going to score. I said that's exactly the matchup I was looking at when I picked this game, and there's just no answers that the Colts defense has. They're not going to be able to stop Justin Jefferson, and it's going to be a great attack for Sam Darnold to get right. Obviously the Vikings have lost in the last two games. Um, and some tough battles. But I think this is the perfect team to get right back on track, um, winning wise, and that starts with this matchup from Justin Jefferson, with Sam Darnold really attacking the Colts secondary, and obviously, like you said, the Colts are in some QB, little turmoil in their QB situation, going back and forth, and can't seem to decide on who the better quarterback is there. So I think that's gonna cause some dysfunction in their offense. So I like the Vikings. Vikings 5-2 against the spread last 7 games. They're laying 5 points in this one at home. So I like the Vikings to get right in this one. We'll go to Jay. Says without Google, I can't even name a Colts cornerback. Yeah, neither can I. Neither can I, and that's exactly why I like your bet. That's why I like my bet. Um, yeah, I think the Vikings really going to get right this week. I think this is a good time for the Vikings to get right back on track and start winning some games again.
Most definitely. And, you know, not as much plus money out there this week as there was last week, but still looking to have a nice week and keep these winning weeks rolling.
Absolutely. Any more bets that you want to tell the people, or do you want to wrap up the show?
Um, None that I've officially made. A few things out there that I was looking at. One of those matchups we talked about. You being on the Rams. That Russia matchup, I definitely like. Not necessarily Kyron Williams with some of his props because of the minus numbers that you see out there, like the anytime TD props. But you might find yourself in a position to be able to utilize something like that in a small little 2-leg parlay to you know get you over to that plus money. Potentially using a prop like that with maybe a couple, a game total or two of some of these teams out there where we have a couple matchups. Panthers come to mind where both teams been trending towards the over in their matchups, where even though it's what you might look at as a pair of bad teams facing off, you still value in some of those situations out there.
All right. That's our bet for week number 9. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Get your bets in before tomorrow night, Thursday night football coming on. At safe betting, only bet what you can afford to lose, and you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yeah, the folks can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube, where this Saturday night I'll be starting to do a show covering live markets and angles on some of the NBA games going on, because not to say that they're the easiest markets, but I do believe there's a lot more value and a lot more vulnerability on the book side when it comes to some of these numbers. And there, we're looking for that weakness as bettors. You want to find where the sports books, or not to say at their weakest, but you want to find those good angles. And sometimes it's the live markets where that can happen. And I'll also be going more in depth into some props and things of that nature for the NFL. And also, like my man said, I did start up a new Discord. Search out Backyard Action Media on Discord. It's open to the public, so feel free to join. Going to be a lot of information in there, just whether it be trends, sports betting related information. I dig into a lot. I'm a degenerate at heart with basketball, football, hockey. I don't have a soccer channel in there, but if you want to come in there with some regular soccer plays or anything, MLS, Champions League, shoot, I get down with some Mexican soccer. Talk to me about some Liga MX, but I'll throw a channel in there for you.
All right, you can find me at NFLK22 on Instagram and Twitter/X, and you can find me on this channel on Fridays at 3 o'clock, talking Cowboys, talking Giants. I'll be talking about my Cowboys losing to the 49ers and the Giants losing to who the hell did they lose to? Lost to somebody. They always lose, so it doesn't matter really. It's every week they lose, so who cares? Ferris will be talking about it. But that's what I'll be. Um, but yeah, we'll be back next week doing the same thing, trying to win you guys some money, and going through our 5 best bets of the week. So please tune in for that. And like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.